running for the past few years. INHAF is a small little organization. Just a minute. Can you hear? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
जी.
Can you see? Sorry. INHAF is a small little non-profit of professionals. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Very clearly.
हमने headphone.
हाँ
Can you hear me?
So you just
हेडफोन पहरी लो.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
you just wear your headphone.
I don't need headphone when I'm talking.
Okay.
Devanshi, man, thank you for joining. Thank you very much. So what I'm saying that it's a small little organization, and this is 127th webinar that we are running for the last 3 or 4 years. This webinar is titled Media and Gujarat's Urban Challenge. And as I was telling to Shyam Bhai, and let me tell you at the outset that this is a very different kind of webinar compared to all that we have done in the last few years. Earlier webinars have been moderated and addressed by subject experts and professionals working on that particular theme or topic, or by person who have special knowledge or insight on the theme, be that urban governance, municipal finance, be that climate change, be that pollution, or be that public transport. All this thing that we've done, 126 webinars, they all have been done by subject experts. This one, which you are participating in that sense is different, is very different. This time, the subject, that is Gujarat as Urban Challenge, is not being discussed or presented by the experts, but the media, traditional print and visual media, people who work in newspapers and television, and the new social platforms. And we have, and I'm very happy to say this, we are some of the best and most experienced people who are part of this media. This media people do not make policies or programs or investment plans for Gujarat cities, or do not install a municipal commissioner for a city. They see, they observe, study, listen, analyze, and report impact of those plans and decisions. This is what media does. They're at the other end of the spectrum, not at the top, but at the bottom, so to speak, with the people, with the communities, with the stakeholders, and with the unfolding events and scenario on the ground. They are assessing and measuring output, outcomes, and impacts, and telling us all the time what they see and what they find. They are also disciplined and follow a strict protocol. Whereas others may guess or speculate or imagine. Media has a higher sense of responsibility and greater accountability. They have to verify what they say, write, and show. Through their work, on face of it, is to inform and share. They also influence both the people at the top, the politicians, officials, professionals, and other decision makers. And the people on the ground, they influence both people at the top and people on the ground. And they are not only informers, they are also influencers. And that influencing is quite subtle. To this people, to this media people, those who know the pulse of the people, who know what is happening on the ground, who are assessing and measuring impacts all the time, we are asking questions about Gujarat's urbanization. ગુજરાતનું શહેરીકરણ કેવી રીતે થઈ રહ્યું છે? Gujarat is urbanizing fast. By one estimate, some 45% of Gujarat now lives in cities or would be doing so in the near future. More and more people are leaving villages and moving into cities for better life, better jobs, better livelihood, better incomes, better education, housing, medical facilities, better growth prospects, and modern living. That is what the cities are associated with. There are big cities and small cities, fast growing and small moving, rich and not so rich. The question that we are posing to our media friends today are many and diverse. What are these questions? From what you have seen, heard, noticed, and analyzed, is life better for the people in cities of Gujarat? Have they gained by moving to cities or becoming cities? Cities are known to be engines of economic growth. Is Gujarat's economy better? What role are the cities playing? In 25 more years, population of Gujarat cities will double. Will be able to house so many people well, properly, or will it be a chaos and slums for many? Will there be jobs for all, housing, water, improved infrastructure and services? Will slums disappear? Will conditions there improve? Will the pollution be controlled? Will the rivers be cleaned up? Are cities ready for the climate change? Are our municipalities and municipal corporations strong enough to offer good governance and provide and maintain basic services? Do people know that 74th constitutional amendment that gave constitutional status 30 years ago to our local self-governments, our municipalities, has been wasted, that nothing has improved or changed? How is party politics impacting Gujarat cities? So these are series of questions that I thought we would ask you. We're asking this question to media people who know pulse of the people. They also know mind of the politicians and which way the officials think. And we also know that today they will tell us their own version. They will tell us how they think. Before I take few more minutes to tell you about why we are doing this webinar series for the past many years, let me thank these wonderful people who, despite their very busy schedule and deadlines, are participating in the discussion. We are very grateful for their time and contribution. Let me thank them individually. Thanks, Jumana ji, she's with India today. Thank Devanshi ji, she's brilliant on Jhanga. Leena ji is the resident editor of Gujarat for Indian Express. Dixit ji is with GTV. Ajay Umat bhai edits Ahmedabad Mirror. I know Shyam bhai from his DNA days. We see and read them all the time. Today, they are with us. Thank you very much for making time and giving us this opportunity to see you together. This, I think, is very important. And finally, let me tell you why we are doing this webinar series, and this I would like you to hear. For the past many years, we call this webinar series Rethinking City. This is 127th episode, and 30 more are in the pipeline. We have had over 550 urban experts from all over the world participating and have addressed a good number of urban themes and sub-themes. We are also producing knowledge products using 250 hours of recording that we have. This probably is the only effort in the country that attempts taking the urban challenge to common people. And what we have in 250 hours of recording is all in public domain. It is with INHAF website, and it is also on YouTube, accessible to anyone, anytime. And my last point is this. This webinar series is based on 7-part understanding, and this I really want you to register. What is it? What are the 7-part understanding that we're talking about? One, that India's urban challenge is vastly complex and very difficult. Two, that our comprehension of the urban challenge, and when I say our comprehension, means that of the government, of the officials, of professionals, of civil society, and local people, communities, is worryingly inadequate. Our understanding of the challenge is very inadequate. Third reason is the response to the challenge is less than what it should be in quality, quantity, sincerity, purpose, and creativity. We are not responding to the challenge with the required creativity, with required ability. Fourth is that inadequacy in response reflects in the quality of cities that we have, which are mostly chaotic, underserving, and underperforming. Our cities are underserving to people when it comes to services and underperforming when it comes to its role as shelter of economic growth. Fifth is the government alone cannot deal with this challenge, and we must realize that this challenge cannot be met by government alone. Six, there is an impressive pool of talent and knowledge outside the government system. There are a large number of people, there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of ability outside the government system. And the country needs a broad-based societal partnership, that is government plus others, to handle the complex urban challenge. And this webinar series is a small, highly inadequate, but much needed, sincere effort to make the multiple dimensions of the urban challenge to the people, to the community. It's a small contribution to forge the much needed societal partnership. And this is something that I've hammered for last 3 years, every single webinar, that what we need is a broader societal partnership if we want to deal with urban challenge properly. Government alone cannot do it. Universities alone cannot do it. Civil society alone cannot do it. It has to be a creative partnership. And we are doing today's webinar, as we know, media's partnership is crucial. We want your understanding, collaboration, and partnership. So that is my initial statement. I'm telling you what are the kind of questions we want to ask you. I'm telling you what kind of expectations we have. And I'm also telling you what is the nature of urban challenge, that we need to realize that we have something which is very complex. Now, before I hand this over to Jumana ji, who is going to moderate this, I'll take 1 minute to introduce her. She is a journalist for the last 20 years. Jumana ji has worked with newspapers, television, and is currently associated with India Today magazine as senior associate editor in Gujarat. She writes on a plethora of subjects, prominent ones being politics, government policies, environment, wildlife, human rights and conflicts, rural economy, urban development, and primarily all human interest stories. She also teaches journalism and effective communication at Bhavan Institute, Ahmedabad University, and Gujarat University as a visiting faculty. She is also one of the founder directors of Gujarat Literature Festival. Over to you, Jumana ji. Thank you very much for this long introduction.
Thank you indeed, Kirtibhai. It was very interesting listening to you, and that too after such a long time. Good evening, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here and lovely to see you all. As Kirtibhai said, it is rare for all of us to come together in one place, let alone one frame. So I'm happy to be here. I'll give a very quick introduction, and then we will quickly get started with the questions. Gujarat is a beacon of rapid urbanization, no news there. And Ahmedabad, Surat, Vadodara, Rajkot, and now even Gandhinagar are driving economic growth and innovation. With the state projected to be one of the most urbanized in India, which I believe it's already one of the most urbanized, we're looking at about 53% of urban population by 2026. The opportunities for growth are immense, and so are the challenges. Some of the challenges, in addition to what Kirtibhai said, I will list out. Overcrowding. I think urban sprawls are not helping overcrowding in any manner, because the areas which are developing, and the rest which are not are already suffering, which leads us to the second one, inadequate infrastructure. Strained civic amenities like water supply, waste management are testing urban resilience already. We see flooding, urban flooding is a new normal, in fact. Traffic congestion in cities like Ahmedabad, where vehicle numbers were increased by 12%. Just the last 1 year, the numbers went up by 12%, and which only added to the air pollution. We are often above the WHO guidelines, and we probably are all aware of that as reporters. We've seen that. Affordable housing remains a critical concern despite the surge of housing that is going all across. Affordability remains a concern. 30% of urban residents in Gujarat live in informal settlements, which is also what we call slums in many ways. This is as per a 2023 estimate. Environmental degradation, shrinking green spaces, wetland loss, all of these threaten biodiversity, something that we are seeing very evidently in Baroda, where crocodiles are surfacing everywhere in houses, on streets, under two-wheelers, and many of them have died so sadly. Kankaria Lake is, one of the places which is its urban health and urban water bodies are declining. Additional social inequalities is also one of the biggest questions, and people are not able to access good education, healthcare, and people are getting isolated. All of this mainstream media and many media which reports, we are essentially watchdogs, as we are for any other sector, as much for urban development. So we have a critical role to play. We are influential in many ways, and I truly appreciate Kirtibhai, you're bringing this out earlier in the in your talk as well. So the first and foremost, I would I was thinking of going to Ajay Bhai, but if we were to look at Dixit Bhai, let's begin with you. What would kind of challenges and opportunities have you seen so far when you are reporting on urban issues about Gujarat for the electronic media, which has a very big advantage of audio and visual? Let's begin with that. What are the advantages that you have seen and what are the challenges that you see?
Sir, you are on mute.
Sir, you are muted.
યા આપણે પેલા ચેલેન્જીસની વાત કરી લઈએ જુમાનાજી. મને એવું લાગે છે કે રિપોર્ટિંગ દરમિયાન અત્યાર સુધી લગભગ છેલ્લા 25 વર્ષથી હું રિપોર્ટિંગ ફિલ્ડ સાથે સંકળાયેલો છું. ઘણા બધા એવા ઇશ્યુઝ છે જે અત્યાર સુધી આપણે રિપોર્ટિંગમાં જોયા છે અને એ સોલ્વ કરવા માટેના સરકારના પ્રયત્નો પણ જોયા અને એ પ્રયત્નોના અંતે એ કેવી રીતે એ ત્યાં સુધી પહોંચી નથી શકતા એ પણ આપણે જોયું છે. ખાસ કરીને ગુજરાતના સંદર્ભમાં વાત કરવામાં આવે તો અત્યાર સુધીમાં સૌથી મોટો મને અર્બનાઇઝેશનને શહેરીકરણને લઈને સૌથી મોટો પ્રોબ્લેમ અત્યારે જો કોઈ દેખાતો હોય અથવા તો હજુ પણ એટલે 1996-1997 થી જે પ્રશ્ન ચાલતો આવે છે હજુ પણ એ જ પ્રશ્નના રિપોર્ટિંગ આપણે કરતા હોય તો એ છે ડ્રિંકિંગ વોટરનો સૌથી મોટો પ્રશ્ન છે. આપણે માત્ર સૌરાષ્ટ્ર વિશે ઘણું બધું રિપોર્ટિંગ કર્યું છે. સૌરાષ્ટ્ર વિશે આપણે ઘણું બધું જાણીએ છીએ કે ઊંધી રકાબી જેવો શેપ છે, ઘણી જગ્યાએ પાણી નથી આવતું. આ 25 વર્ષ દરમિયાનમાં મેં જોયું છે આપણે નર્મદાના પાણીને છેક રાજકોટ સુધી ને છેક કચ્છ સુધી લઈ જવાની વાતો કરીએ છીએ પણ હજુ પણ ઉનાળામાં કેવા પ્રકારની પીવાના પાણીની સ્કેર્સિટી હોય છે આપણે જોયું છે. એ પછી રાજકોટ હોય કે રાજકોટની એટલે કે સૌરાષ્ટ્રની આસપાસના ભાવનગર, જુનાગઢ જે મોટા શહેરો હોય, પીવાના પાણીનો પ્રોબ્લેમ ઘણા અંશે પહેલાની સરખામણીમાં અર્બનાઇઝેશનના પર્સપેક્ટિવથી જોવા જઈએ તો સોલ્વ થયો છે. જુવાનાજી, તમને યાદ હશે કે આપણે ત્યાં પહેલા એક કહેવત હતી કે દીકરીને બંદૂકે દેજો પણ ધંધુકે ના દેતા. જસ્ટ બીકોઝ ઓફ ધેટ કે ત્યાં આગળ બેડામાં ઉચકીને પાણી લાવવું પડશે અને આપણી છોકરી હેરાન થશે. એટલે આ એક કહેવત આપણે ત્યાં એ પ્રકારે હતી. એ દિવસોમાં ચોક્કસ સુધારો આવ્યો છે પણ હજુ પણ પાણીની પીવાના પાણીની સમસ્યા આપણે અમદાવાદમાં જઈએ, અમદાવાદના એવા ઘણા એરિયા છે કે જ્યાં પીવાના પાણીની પણ સમસ્યાનો સામનો લોકો કરી રહ્યા હોય છે. એટલે એક આ સૌથી મોટી સમસ્યા છે. બીજું મને શહેરીકરણમાં જે સૌથી મોટી સમસ્યા દેખાઈ છે, આપણે અમદાવાદથી ગાંધીનગર જવા માટે બધા ઓવરબ્રિજીસ બનાવી દીધા પણ રસ્તામાં જતી વખતે ગોતા આગળ કે જે ટ્રાફિક કન્જેશન એટલે કે વ્હીકલ્સ એડ થયા અને ટ્રાફિકની જે સૌથી મોટી સમસ્યા થઈ. લોકો જે રીતે કીર્તિભાઈએ કહ્યું એ પ્રમાણે ગામડામાંથી લોકો શહેર તરફ વળ્યા છે પણ શું આપણે એ લોકોને જે ફેસિલિટીઝ સિવિક જે ફેસિલિટીઝ આપવાની છે શું આપી શક્યા છે? ટ્રાફિકની એક બીજી સૌથી મોટી સમસ્યા છે. મને એવું લાગે છે કે જેટલું એડવાન્સમેન્ટ આપણે ઇન્ફ્રાસ્ટ્રક્ચર ડેવલપમેન્ટમાં કરીએ છીએ એની સાથે સાથે એટલું જ ફોર્સ, એટલા જ લોકો બહારથી એન્ટર થાય છે અને મને લાગે છે કે એના કારણે સૌથી વધારે આ સમસ્યાનું જે સોલ્યુશન છે નથી આવી શકતું. અહીંયા ખાસ એક પોઈન્ટ આઉટ બીજું એ પણ કરવા માંગીશ જુમાનાજી કે નીતિ આયોગ ના એક રિપોર્ટ પ્રમાણે એટલે કે આપણે એસડીજી મીન્સ સસ્ટેનેબલ ડેવલપમેન્ટ ગોલ્સની વાત કરીએ તો ગુજરાત SDG 2 અને SDG 5 આ જે બે આપણા ગોલ્સ છે એમાં સૌથી વધારે પાછળ છે અને જે SDG 2 છે એ ઝીરો હંગર છે અને SDG 5 છે એ જેન્ડર ઇક્વાલિટી છે. તો આ પણ એક આ બે પણ સૌથી મોટા ઇશ્યુઝ છે અને સાથે સાથે દિલ્હીમાં આપણે બધા પત્રકારો છીએ, દિલ્હી સાથેનો એક આપણો અલગ પ્રકારનો નાતો રહ્યો છે. દિલ્હી જતા હોઈએ છીએ, ત્યાંની હવામાં કેટલું ઝેર છે એ બધી વાતો કરતા હોઈએ છીએ, પણ હવે ધીરે ધીરે આ પ્રકારના ઇશ્યુઝ અમદાવાદમાં પણ આપણને જોવા મળી રહ્યા છે. પોલ્યુશન, એર પોલ્યુશન ઇઝ વન ઓફ ધ મેજર ચેલેન્જ ફોર સિટી લાઇક અમદાવાદ, સુરત. સુરતમાં પણ ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીયલાઇઝેશન ના નામે જે માત્ર આપણા રાજ્યના નહીં પણ બહારના રાજ્યોના પણ લેબર્સ આવે છે, એમના માટે હાઉસિંગથી માંડીને એ તમામ સમસ્યાઓ છે. આપણે જોયું છે આ બધું સરકાર તરફથી, સરકારના પ્રયત્નો પણ જોયા છે કે સરકારે કેટલા એના માટે પ્રયત્નો કર્યા પણ એ મને લાગે છે કે નાકાફી છે.
Yeah, no, you're right, Dixit bhai. One of the first things that you said કે drinking water ની સમસ્યા આપણે 90s માં રિપોર્ટ કરતા હતા અને આજે બી જો રિપોર્ટ કરતા હોઈએ તો I think there is some serious inflection needed by everybody and all stakeholders that what is really development ની આખી વ્યાખ્યા આપણે reconsider કરવી જોઈએ. Leena, coming to you, you've been reporting from Gujarat and you understand urban issues very, very well. How do you reflect on what are the kind of challenges and opportunities that media as an industry has and you have faced in your reporting years for urban development?
So I feel that, I started city reporting almost around the time when the 74th Amendment was affected, and we saw a huge transformation in civic bodies where they were given a lot of independence, financial independence, a little bit of autonomy, and they were treated as constitutional bodies, as Kirtibai said. But the more important thing was that there was a third of these seats, elected seats, reserved for women. So it brought in it a different perspective of how cities and urban spaces can be developed. But having said that, as a newspaper and as a news organization, what we have tried to do is uh, you know, try to report from the ground on how these amendments or these developments or these policy decisions are reflecting on the common person or on the on the voters. So, for instance, if you see JNNURM, it gave us a BRTS, it gave us a BSUP, the urban housing projects and all. But these are policy decisions that almost took a one size fits all kind of perspective. When the urban space is in the hand of the elected body, there is a more local perspective. The elected representative, it was felt, people would say know what they need the best, more than a central government which is controlling funds and trying to give projects. So we have seen that how if the BRTS worked in Ahmedabad, it has not worked in other cities. Because this Gujarat as such is highly urbanized, and people realize the importance of these projects and they took to it. Although the BRTS took up space, it took up a lot of real estate, it ate up part of the road and stuff like that. So what we have tried to do as a newspaper is try to report from the people's perspective and to tell the people where the taxpayers' money is going and what they should be thinking of when they go to cast their vote in a municipal election or in a general election. So this has largely been our role. While we cannot claim to be changing things, we cannot really change things because we are just a medium. But as a medium, now we have more opportunity also because we have gone digital and we are able to, report things live, in the sense that tomorrow, like today, we are able to tell people. And I think this information dissemination is very important if it goes to the last man. So if, a tabloid sized newspaper in those days was telling people, uh, you know what what is happening around, in the afternoon there was a newspaper coming out being distributed in the bus stations and all. It was giving you, today there is the mobile phone, where people are getting information immediately. So for instance, if I'll just tell you, if I mean, this is the best season to be talking about urbanization, because this is a season where we see everything, go underwater or come crashing down. So we had the Rath Yatra, where year after year they keep warning that these are dangerous buildings, do not climb them, do not stand by them, and so on. But nothing has changed. Okay. And then we have this flooding, where we saw how much of development has come in the way of the natural water channels and all. But what we can do is tell the people that, look, this area is flooded, please do not go there. This is, the road is broken here. This is the kind of information dissemination we do immediately, and we do investigations into why this has happened. For instance, I'll tell you, Indian Express did a full page on the Vishwamitri flooding earlier this, I think it was earlier this year, where, 3 days there was water logging, and people went without power. And, what is the point of the development if you are not going to be able to, allow a river to flow in its natural course? So these are questions we raise through our journalism and through our reports, and we hope that somebody listens and looks and helps decide policy. Yeah.
No, of course, I don't think it's a matter of hope. It's a matter of pretty much imperative, and there is a lot of impact. I do believe that all of us here have make our impact. You spoke about how we are able to report live now, and I think that is where Devanshi can very well add some understanding. What does urban reporting look like? Urban development reporting look like to you for the kind of mediums that you use? You use social media quite a lot. Of course, you have the audio visual at your disposal. How do you, what are the challenges you face and how it's worked out for you so far?
I'll start with social media. એટલે મને એવું લાગે છે કે મેં એક વિડીયો જોયો હતો, ન્યુયોર્કનો હતો, બાઇક લેન નામે એક વિડીયો છે, અને એના પર યુટ્યુબ પર 30 મિલિયન વ્યૂઝ છે. એટલે 30 મિલિયન ઇઝ અ વેરી બિગ નંબર. અને એ વિડીયો એ સંદર્ભે એ વિષય પર છે કે એક છોકરો જઈ રહ્યો હતો ન્યુયોર્કમાં, અને એને બાઇક લેનમાં નથી તમારું એમ કરીને એની બાઇસિકલને દંડ આપ્યો પોલીસવાળાએ. તો પોલીસવાળા એને જેવું રોક્યો, પછી એના પછી એને એક સરસ વિડીયો બનાવ્યો કે લેનમાં જાય છે અને લેનમાં વચ્ચે જ્યાં જ્યાં આવે છે એ ટકરાય છે. એટલે પોલીસની ગાડી ક્યાંક ઊભી છે, ક્યાંક ઝાડ છે, ક્યાંક ડસ્ટબિન છે, અને એ બતાવે છે કે તમે દંડ કરી રહ્યા છો લેનમાં બાઇક નથી એના માટે, પણ તમે એ જોઈ રહ્યા છો કે લેન ખાલી છે કે કેમ. તો દેટ ક્વેશ્ચન એણે પૂછ્યો એના પછી, અને મેં એની નીચેની ખાસી બધી કમેન્ટ્સ વાંચી જોઈ, અને આઈ રિયલાઇઝડ કે કોઈએ એને એવું નથી કહ્યું કે આ ડેમોક્રેટ છે કે આ રિપબ્લિકન છે. બધાએ એને એ રીતે જ જોયું કે એ ત્યાંનો નાગરિક છે ને એ પ્રશ્ન કરી રહ્યો છે. મને એવું લાગે છે કે સોશિયલ મીડિયા અને ઓલ કાઇન્ડ ઓફ મીડિયા આપણે બધા જ એક, અને સિટીઝન મોટા ભાગે, કેમ કે એ પ્રકારનું એક્ટિવિઝમ, જર્નલિઝમ, કે એ પ્રશ્નો ખાસા બધા ઓછા એટલા માટે આપણે ત્યાં ઘણીવાર દેખાય છે. એનું કારણ એ કે આપણે ત્યાં સિટીઝન પાસેથી પણ આપણને અપેક્ષા નથી કે એ વાતને સમજશે કે સરકાર સરકાર હોય છે, એટલે આપણે ત્યાં જે પણ સમસ્યાઓ છે એમાં બધું જ શું કામ પોલિટિકલ હોય છે એ પાછલા ખાસા વર્ષોથી મને નથી સમજાયું. કેમ કે સરકાર ભાજપ કે કોંગ્રેસની નથી હોતી, સરકાર તો દેશ અને રાજ્યની હોય છે. એટલે એ જે બેઝિક વાત છે એ બહુ જ ઘણીવાર ભૂલાઈ જતી હોય છે. એટલે આ બાઇક લેનથી શરૂ કરીને પછી હું જો અમદાવાદના પર્સપેક્ટિવ પર આવું, તો અમદાવાદમાં એક સાથે હું બહુ બધું જોઈ રહી છું. એટલે હું અમદાવાદથી નથી, હું ગામડાથી આવી છું, બહુ જ રૂરલ એરિયામાંથી આવી છું. હું જ્યારે અમદાવાદ આવી તો મેં અમદાવાદમાં મિની બાંગ્લાદેશ પણ જોયું, મિની પાકિસ્તાન પણ જોયું, મિની અમેરિકા પણ જોયું. એટલે અમદાવાદના જ એક હિસ્સામાં ટાઈમ સ્ક્વેર નામે બિલ્ડિંગ હોય, અને ત્યાં બહુ જ બ્યુટિફુલી બધું જ મેનેજ થતું હોય. અને અમદાવાદના જ કેટલાય માણસો એવા છે કે જે ઘરની સાંકડી દિવાલોમાં બેસીને એક એરિયાને ટેગ આપી દે કે આ મિની બાંગ્લાદેશ છે, અને કાં તો એવું કહી દે કે આ મિની પાકિસ્તાન છે. એટલે આપણે ટેગ આપી દઈએ એનાથી સ્થિતિ નથી બદલાતી. ચંડોળા લેકનું ડિમોલિશન જ્યારે આજુબાજુનું થઈ રહ્યું હતું, અમારી ટીમ જ્યારે ગઈ ત્યાં એમણે જ્યારે રિપોર્ટિંગ કર્યું અને બધું જોયું, ત્યારે તો એ પ્રશ્ન બહુ જ સાચો છે કે નેશનલ સિક્યુરિટીને થ્રેટ હોય એ બધી જ વસ્તુ તમારે હટાવી જ પડે. એટલે સ્લમ્સમાં કોઈ ઓળખ વગર રહેતા માણસો એ કોઈ જ ના ચાલે. પ્રોબ્લેમ એ થયો કે એમાંથી આપણે લગભગ 300-400 માણસને મેક્સિમમ આપણે બાંગ્લાદેશ ડિપોર્ટ કર્યા. આપણે હટાવ્યા ત્યાં તો રહેતો હજારો માણસો છે, અને એ માણસો રહેતા નથી, એ જીવાતની જેમ ખદબદે છે ત્યાં. એટલે એ ગટરની ઉપર આમ થાંભલા બાંધે છે, થાંભલા ઉપર એક લગાવેલું હોય છે અને એની ઉપર એ લોકો સૂઈ જાય છે ત્યાં. એટલી ખરાબ હાલતમાં જે જીવતા માણસો છે એને આપણે એવું કહી દઈશું કે મિની બાંગ્લાદેશ છે એટલે એ બાંગ્લાદેશમાં નથી જતા રહેવાના, એ તો રહેવાના ભારતમાં જ છે ને અમદાવાદમાં જ છે. તો એમના માટે આપણી પાસે સોલ્યુશન શું છે? જો એ ક્રિમિનલ્સ છે તો એ જેલમાં હોવા જોઈએ, અને જો એ ક્રિમિનલ્સ નથી ને તમે એને ત્યાંથી કાઢી રહ્યા છો, એ બાંગ્લાદેશ નથી જ જઈ રહ્યા, તો મતલબ એ એક એરિયામાંથી નીકળીને બીજા એરિયામાં જવાના છે. પણ એ ક્યાં જશે ત્યાં? જો એમનો ક્રિમિનલ માઇન્ડસેટ છે અને એ દેશને રાજ્યને બહુ જ નુકસાન કરે એવા છે, તો એ લોકો સંગઠિત ચંડોળા પર હતા, હવે છૂટાછવાયા બધા એરિયામાં અલગ અલગ જશે તો એ તો સ્પ્રેડ કરશે, વધારે નુકસાન કરશે. આપણી પાસે આ કોઈ જ પ્રશ્નના જવાબ નથી. આપણે ત્યાં બધી જ ઘટનાઓ પોલિટિકલી અને નેરેટિવ માટે થાય છે. આપણે જો ખરેખર ચંડોળા લેક માટે કે પછી પીરાણાને પીરાણા માટે જોતા હોત તો આપણી પાસે એ વાતનો જવાબ હોત કે પીરાણામાંથી જે પાણી નીકળી રહ્યું છે ને એ પાણી ત્યાં જઈ રહ્યું છે ને લોકો પી રહ્યા છે એવું પાણી, અથવા રંગીન પાણી આવે છે, અથવા સાબરમતીમાં જે રીતે પાણી છોડાય છે, એસટીપી કેટલા કામ કરે છે આપણા, અને કેટલા વર્ષે કામ કરતા થયા છે. એક સુધારો અમદાવાદ જેવા શહેરમાં એ છે કે એસટીપીસ આપણે ત્યાં ખાસું કામ કરતા થયા, અને હાઈકોર્ટ ખાસા સમયથી એ કેસ ચાલી રહ્યો છે, એટલે વટવા જીઆઈડીસી ને પણ પૂછે છે અને બાકીની બધી જીઆઈડીસીસ ને એએમસી ને પૂછે છે, એટલે એમાં ચેન્જ આવી રહ્યો છે ખાસો બધો. પણ એટલું સ્લો છે કે હું જયારે એક સાથે કચ્છમાંથી કે છોટાઉદેપુરમાંથી હિજરત કરતા માણસોને જોઉં છું, અથવા નાના ગામડામાંથી, સૌરાષ્ટ્રના ગામડામાંથી બહુ જ બધા સપના લઈને અમદાવાદ આવતા માણસોને જોઉં છું, તો મને એ પ્રશ્ન થાય છે કે અમદાવાદમાં એમના સપના પૂરા થશે? કેમ કે દરેક માણસ જયારે યંગ છોકરાઓ ખાસ તો એ જયારે ભણવા માટે આવે છે ત્યારે એસજી હાઈવેની રોનક જુએ છે. એમને એવું લાગે છે કે સરસ મજાની લાઈફ છે ને સિટીમાં જઈને એમને ફ્રીડમ મળશે ને બહુ સરસ મજાનું એ જીવન જીવવાના છે ને સરસ મજાની રેસ્ટોરન્ટમાં જશે ને નાઇટ લાઈફ એન્જોય કરશે. પણ સિટીઝ કે પછી શહેરો એટલા પૂરતા સીમિત નથી. એ તો જયારે આવે છે ને અહીંયા રહેવા માટે જાય છે, અમદાવાદના પૂર્વ વિસ્તારની એક સોસાયટીમાં ઘર લે છે ને પછી એક નાનકડા ફ્લેટમાં જીવે છે, ત્યારે એમને ગામડું યાદ આવે છે, ને ત્યારે એમને ખબર પડે છે કે ખેતર વેચીને, વીઘો વેચીને અહીંયા તમે 1 BHK લો છો જ્યારે, તો એ 1 BHK વર્થ નથી સાબિત થતો. એટલે આ બહુ જ મોટી સ્ટ્રગલ છે. એટલે ખરેખર ગામડામાં વીઘા વેચાઈ રહ્યા છે, અને વીઘા વેચાઈને અહીંયા 1 BHK પણ નથી આવતું. અને પછી લોન ને ઈએમઆઈ ને અર્બન ચેલેન્જીસ જેટલી આવે છે, અથવા અર્બન સમસ્યાઓથી માણસ જેટલો ઘેરાય છે, એ અર્બન ફેસિલિટીઝ નથી માણી શકતો. એટલે શહેરોના બીજા પણ પાસા છે, એ સારા પાસા મોટા ભાગની પોપ્યુલેશન સુધી નથી પહોંચતા. એટલે આખો દેશ અસમાનતાની ખાઈમાં છે, પણ શહેરો એ બહુ મોટી ખાઈમાં છે. અને એટલી બધી ખાઈ છે કે એમાં એ પણ આપણે નથી જોઈ શકતા કે મિડલ ક્લાસના સપના પણ મિડલ ક્લાસ નથી, એના સપના પણ બહુ જ અમીર થઈ ગયા છે. એટલે સપનામાં બધા જ અમીર થઈ ગયા છે. એના પછી જયારે વાસ્તવિકતા ફેસ કરે છે શહેરોની, ત્યારે એ શહેરોમાં એ કેવી રીતે ટકી રહેશે, બહુ જ બેઝિક પ્રશ્નોના જવાબ આપણી પાસે મોટા ભાગે નથી મળતા. અને આ ખાલી પીરાણા કે ચંડોળાની વાત નથી. આ વાત તમે ઓલમોસ્ટ કોઈ પણ સોસાયટીમાં લો, બહુ નાના નાના ઘરમાં વસ્તી ગીચતામાં રહેતા માણસો, એમનું જીવવું અતિશય દુષ્કર છે, અને એનું ભવિષ્ય શું એનો આપણી કોઈની પાસે જવાબ નથી. છેલ્લી વાત એટલી એડ કરીશ કે અર્બનાઇઝેશનમાં, એટલે જે કહ્યું ને કે આપણા શહેરો કેવી રીતે વધી રહ્યા છે, તો ઇલેક્શન આવે એમ મહાનગરપાલિકાની હદોમાં વધારો થાય છે. એટલે કોર્પોરેશનના ઇલેક્શન આવવાના છે ને વોટ મેનેજ કરવાની જરૂર છે, ત્યારે સીમાંકન થશે નવા, અને નવા લોકો આવી જશે. પણ તમે નવા માણસોને નગરમાં એડ કર્યા, પણ પછી નળ ગટર રસ્તા ક્યારે? એનો જવાબ નથી હોતો. એટલે શહેરો વધતા જાય છે, સીમાઓ વધતા જાય છે, ઓન પેપર મોટા થતા જાય છે, પણ એના સુધી શહેરની સુવિધા નથી પહોંચી રહી.
Yeah. Which is what, the biggest challenge that all urban areas are facing, કે urban sprawl જેને આપણે કહીએ છીએ કે ફેલાતા જાય છે, અને ટ્રંક ઇન્ફ્રાસ્ટ્રક્ચર જે છે, જે આપણી બેઝિક સ્યુએજ ફેસિલિટીઝ છે, like, at least for those who live in Ahmedabad, and all of us here do, we know how Shella is suffering. We know how, Applewoods is suffering. I mean, it's an open gutter, literally. And the kind of, the rate at which those houses were sold, it is absolutely a disgrace. કે આટલા વર્ષો પછી બી લોકો આટલા ખર્ચીને, દેવાંશી યુ આર સેઇંગ કે ગામમાંથી વીઘો વેચીને આવે છે. હું તો કહું છું અમદાવાદના જ લોકો સારા પાલડીમાં અને નવરંગપુરામાં ફ્લેટો છોડીને લોકો ત્યાં રહેવા ગયા છે. એન્ડ they are absolutely, so what is really happening and what is the idea of urban development is really questionable. Shyam, coming to you, again, a veteran in DNA, and in Times of India, of course. You've covered a lot about urban development, and you've seen the city and cities, in fact, coming a long way. You also understand Rajkot very well. What are the challenges that you see for urban development, and especially for media to understand and access urban development issues?
Thank you, Jumana. Kirti bhai, thank you for getting all of us together and start talking on this, because all of us have been reporting Ahmedabad at different periods of time in different media. And I think everybody has seen the same challenge, like what Dixit Bhai was talking about, પાણી હોય કે what Devanshi is talking about, બાંગ્લાદેશી કે બીજા વસાતીઓને એક જગ્યાએથી બીજી જગ્યાએ shift કરવા, or what Jumana and Leena have spoken. I personally, as a journalist over the years, what I have faced in my early reporting days in 90s and later on as editor of DNA, what I have seen in stories, there is one commonality. Okay, somewhere around 2000, we lost that ability as a city to respond to growth. We just succumbed to the pressure. And the biggest casualty has been our freedom to move in the city. Our mobility has become majorly hampered. The time we have been spending on the streets is very high. This is reducing our productivity. And in DNA, we led a huge campaign for quite some time about, fixing productivity parameters. Now that I see like what Bangalore is facing today, that it has grown very well on all fronts, but people don't want to live there. People just want to run away. Companies have to create new formulas to work because commuting is hell. We are also headed towards that, new cars and stuff. Now, my problem as a journalist when I reflect is this, that are roads the issue? Are the vehicles an issue? Is the traffic sense an issue? Is the traffic police? Is the municipal corporation? Is the government? It's people's attitude? I don't know, whatever is the issue. But one issue is obvious, and that is the use of roads. Believe me, majority of the roads are used for things a lot more in addition to just used by vehicles. And we got BRTS there, we are developing metro, we are getting more fast in terms of transport. But the passages are impossible to navigate. આજે મારા ઘેરથી અગર મારે બીઆરટીએસ યુઝ કરવી હોય કે મેટ્રો યુઝ કરવું હોય અને હું ઘરેથી કોઈ પણ વેહિકલમાં નીકળું તો ક્યાંય પાર્કિંગ નથી. એટલે મારી ઈચ્છા ન હોય તો રોજ પગ પછાડીને જબરદસ્તી મારે મારા પ્રાઇવેટ વેહિકલમાં જ જવું પડે છે. કોઈ રસ્તો જ નથી. રોજ રિક્ષાનો ખર્ચ કરી અને તમે મેટ્રો સ્ટેશન સુધી જાઓ કે બીઆરટીએસ સુધી જાઓ તો ઇકોનોમી વાઇઝ ઇટ ડઝન્ટ અલાઉ મી એની a good return on that. અને આ સમસ્યા દિવસે દિવસે બહુ વધશે, કારણ કે લોકો જ્યારે ગામડા છોડીને શહેરમાં આવે છે ત્યારે એમની અપેક્ષા હોય છે કે એમનું જીવન ધોરણ ઘણું સુધરશે, અને એની બદલે limited mobility, number of hours that we spend on road is going to kill us as a city. અને આમાં જે ચેલેન્જ હું એ જોઉં છું કે આપણી productivity has to be definitely much more than this. I don't know number wise whether it should be 1.5x or 2x of what it is currently, if we want to compete with a highly productive country like China. Per head productivity in China is way more than an average Indian city's productivity. So આપણે જ્યારે મેક ઇન ઇન્ડિયાની વાત કરીએ, we talk about India's golden period coming. If we can't compete on this very basic parameter, અને I feel કે metro કે BRTS are very good, but they are not the solution. Till we don't figure out proper usage of roads, then we don't make sure that mobility has to be extremely free and smooth, I think we are looking at a bigger challenge. બાકીના બધા issues છે, but I think they will follow this, because the reason why everybody is in the city, the commonality, the biggest common factor is movement. And this needs to be attended. And I feel media has been addressing on its own, to be fair to everyone. But the challenge is the government, is the administration willing to consider that as a priority? Because they have their own priorities and their own challenges. So we need a dialogue between people, between authorities, media, and all other stakeholders together to discuss where Ahmedabad is headed, what is the plan for Ahmedabad's future, and how that should go forward. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Those were sort of your opening remarks, and of course, it sets the context very well. Coming back to you, Dixit Bhai, over the years, and you've seen things changing quite a bit. Just to see the response matrix as an understanding of people's awareness of the situation, citizens, your viewers, your audience, what kind of stories are consumed or get a higher viewership, higher engagement over the years, and how has that changed, and if yes, how? आवाज म्यूट.
નથી સંભળાતું.
સ્ટોરી કન્ઝમ્પશન ની જો વાત કરવામાં આવે જુમાનાજી તો જે લોકોને ગમે એ અમે પીરસી રહ્યા છીએ બિંગ અ બ્રોડકાસ્ટર, એટલે કે એક ટેલિવિઝન ચેનલ ચલાવીએ છીએ તો લોકોને જે ગમે એ પીરસવું પડે છે. અને એમાં એટલે એ મેટ્રિક્સમાં હું નહીં જઉં, કારણ કે એ મેટ્રિક્સમાં જઈશ તો વળી પાછું ટીઆરપી વાળી વાત આવી જશે ને ટીઆરપીમાં અમારે ગમે તે કરવું પડતું હોય છે. પણ એક અવેરનેસના પર્સપેક્ટિવથી અમે લોકો હંમેશા એક વસ્તુનું ધ્યાન રાખીએ છીએ કે લોકોમાં અવેરનેસ વધે. હમણાં જેમ શ્યામભાઈએ કહી, એ શ્યામભાઈની વાત બહુ ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે કે રોડ સેફટી એન્ડ સિક્યુરિટીની વાત કરવામાં આવે તો રોડ સેફટી એન્ડ સિક્યુરિટી અને ટ્રાફિક કન્જેશનના કારણે આપણે ત્યાં દેશમાં અગર મને એવું લાગે છે કે સૌથી વધારે જો ટ્રાફિક સેન્સની સમસ્યા હોય તો મને લાગે છે કે આપણે અમદાવાદમાં હશે. અને ટ્રાફિક સેન્સ પણ હવે માનો કે આપણે હું દિલ્હી જઉં કે હું બીજા કોઈ રાજ્યમાં જઉં છું અથવા તો મહારાષ્ટ્રમાં જઈએ કે મુંબઈમાં જઈએ તો ટ્રાફિક લેનમાં જે રીતે ચાલતો હોય, ગમે એટલો ટ્રાફિક હોય, ટ્રાફિક વધી જ રહ્યો છે અને વધવાનો જ છે, પણ સૌથી મોટી એ ટ્રાફિક સેન્સ વાળી વાત છે. એની અવેરનેસ માટે કામ કરવું જોઈએ અને એના માટે અમારા તરફથી પણ ઘણી વખત અમુક પ્રકારની સ્ટોરીઝ અથવા તો અમુક પ્રકારની ક્વિકીઝ બનાવીને એવા પ્રયત્નો કરવામાં આવતા હોય છે કે જેના કારણે લોકો માં ટ્રાફિક અવેરનેસ વધે. ખાસ કરીને હું હમણાં જ ક્યાંક થોડું કંઈક વાંચી રહ્યો હતો અને એમાં મને ખબર પડી કે ટ્રાફિક જે પ્રેશર વધ્યું છે અને આપણા જે રોડ્સની સેફટી અને સિક્યુરિટીની જે સ્થિતિ છે અત્યારે, જે એટલે વરસાદમાં જે પ્રકારની પરિસ્થિતિ સર્જાતી હોય છે એમાં દર કલાકે એ 19 એક્સિડન્ટ ગુજરાતમાં થતા હોય છે. એટલે ધીસ ઇઝ ધ સ્ટેટિસ્ટિક કે એટલે કેટલું પ્રેશર છે રોડ ઉપર અને કેટલા વ્હીકલ એવરી ડે રોડ ઉપર એડ થઈ રહ્યા છે, જેને મેનેજ કરવા એક સૌથી મોટી ચેલેન્જ થઈ ગયેલી છે. બિંગ અ મીડિયા, તમારો જે સવાલ છે એના ઉપર હું આવું તો આ તમામ વસ્તુઓને એડ્રેસ કરવા માટેના અમારા તરફથી ચોક્કસ પ્રયત્નો હોય છે. એ પ્રયત્નો કરીએ છીએ, પણ મને એવું લાગે છે કે હજુ પણ આપણા તરફથી બિંગ અ મીડિયા ઓલ્સો આપણા તરફથી સ્પેસિફિકલી આ પ્રકારના ડ્રાઈવ ચલાવવા જોઈએ, જે કદાચ કામના અમુક પ્રકારના પ્રેશર અથવા તો જે પ્રકારની સ્ટોરીઝ આપણે કરતા હોય એના કારણે એટલું નથી કરી શકતા. હું બહુ ફ્રેન્કલી કહું છું, મને લાગે છે કે એ અવેરનેસ ઉપર આપણે વધારે બિંગ અ મીડિયા પીપલ ફોકસ કરવું જોઈએ. કરીએ છીએ, જે પ્રયત્નો કરીએ છીએ એ હજુ ઓછા પડી રહ્યા છે, તો આપણે વધારે એવા પ્રયત્નો કરવા જોઈએ. અને રોડ સેફટીની વાત કરવામાં આવે અને ખાસ ટ્રાફિકની સમસ્યા જે રીતે દિવસે ને દિવસે વધી રહી છે, અને હા, મુંબઈ કે દિલ્હીના મિત્રો સાથે વાત થતી હોય ત્યારે એમને એક જગ્યાએથી બીજી જગ્યાએ જવા માટે આપણે એવું સાંભળી ગયા હોય એ લોકોને તો 1.5 કલાક ઓફિસથી ઘરે પહોંચવામાં થતો હોય છે. પણ હવે અમદાવાદમાં અહીંયા થવા માંડ્યું છે. અમદાવાદમાં પણ હવે આ જ ફેક્ટ છે કે તમારે એસજી હાઈવે થી ગોતા કે પેલી બાજુ ગોદરેજ ગાર્ડન સિટી જવું હોય તો તમારે એવું માની લેવાનું તમને 1 કલાક મિનિમમ થશે. સો વી આર ઓલ્સો ઇન ધેટ રેટ રેસ. સો એ બધી વસ્તુને નિવારવા માટે મને લાગે છે કે આપણા તરફથી પણ હજુ વધારે પ્રયત્નો થવા જોઈએ.
I believe Kirti would be happy to hear that when Dixit is saying that, we are going to do more, we realize that we need to do more. So that is already something that we realize in, let's say, 1 hour of this discussion. Coming to you, Leena, what kind of stories get more traction? Which because your readership is Indian Express's readership and earlier even Times of India that you were associated with, you have a fairly, let's say, erudite upper echelons. What kind of issues sort of grab their attention?
So I'll start with in the beginning when I was a city reporter in Times of India, we would do these columns every week, going to each ward and talking to people right from Girdhar Nagar to Navranpura and in Ahmedabad and asking them, what are their needs. So what are the needs and what is your city government giving you? So what we learned from those columns, those weekly columns, is that, people's needs from the east of Ahmedabad, south of Ahmedabad, west of Ahmedabad, and north are very different and unique. And whether the city government is listening, or it is, I mean, these are the local representatives who take the problems to the to the larger elected bodies, and they to get things done. So this was one very big learning we got, as I mean, I got as a reporter. And the newspaper decided to consciously uh, keep reporting on these local, not looking at the big picture alone, but looking at the micro picture. Now, in Indian Express also, what we do is stories which affect, things that affect your daily lives is what we have seen, is what people want to know. So, for instance, people would want to know that, Ajay, there is a lot of awareness about staying healthy. But people would want to know કે તમારી ઘરની આસપાસમાં એક walking path વાળું garden આવે છે કે નહીં. Will you be able to walk next door? How long will you take to travel to the airport? If there is a flyover, એવા બધા પ્રશ્નોના જવાબ લોકો માગતા હોય છે. અને અત્યારે તો I would say કે one of the hottest topics is the Rottweiler killing a baby in Ahmedabad. That is also an urban question. And today, Surat has come up with a policy where they are saying ki it's not just your decision whether you can keep a pet or not. It is going to be the decision of your neighbors also. So these are the kind of questions we take up in our reporting. But this is just to say that this is what people, like Dixit Bhai said, કે જે લોકોને જોઈએ છે એ આપણે પીરસતા હોઈએ છીએ. But we are not just looking at that. We are also going deeper. So if people are coming to us to read these things, we want them to even come to us to read the express kind of investigation into these issues. So for instance, we did I mean, it's again a traffic thing about Ahmedabad. People who come to Ahmedabad, the most frequent question is, why do two-wheeler riders not wear helmets in Ahmedabad? If you stand at a traffic junction, out of 10 people, only 2 would be wearing helmets, the rest would be hanging it on their bikes or something. So we did a story where we stopped at 4-5 such junctions. We sent reporters to these junctions to ask these people who are not wearing helmets, કે તમે helmet કેમ નથી પહેરતા? And the reasons range from highly silly ones to technical economic ones also. કે મને ગરમી લાગે છે, I get infections, ને એવા બધા કારણો. So, life is not so, I mean, the priority ma saving your head is not somehow priority for us. I don't know why. પણ એ આ બહાર આવ્યું, so આ બહાર આવવાથી I don't know whether I cannot connect directly કે આના લીધે જ થયું હોય. પણ ઘણા લોકોએ હવે when you go to buy a bike, there are companies which are offering you helmets free. Okay, કે તમે આ લઈ જાઓ અને પહેરજો. They will tell you. And bikes have modified themselves to even create spaces for helmets કે તમને આ લઈને ના ફરવું પડે. So I feel that this is the little bits we do, as journalists. We bring the point to the table for discussion. And if the policymakers are reading, if they are watching, I think if they resolve these small issues of people, the larger picture will fix itself. So like Shyam was saying that, BRTS has come, but today I am not able to use it because the feeder routes are not yet done. There is no feeder service yet, which is so robust. Same is the case with
Yeah.
metro. Similarly, we took up these issues of, a bridge to nowhere, that Shela, there was a flyover that was built and it was ending just in somebody's farmhouse. So while everyone wrote about it, we thought, let's get under the flyover, અને અમે ગયા, we found out whose plot that was, અને શું કામ આવું થઈ ગયું. And why didn't people think about it before? Already we had a precedent in the Hatkeshwar case. Hatkeshwar bridge બન્યા પછી they have decided કે ભાઈ this is not good enough, and they are going to bring it down. And there had been so many other fatal mishaps. In Surat also, there was a flyover whose wall fell, people died. અને ઘણા બધા એવા ગોંડલમાં થયેલું, બ્રિજ પડી ગયો તો in this.
Palatpur also under construction, bridge collapsed.
Correct. So we bring these to to the reader. We get these stories to the reader to help ask questions to the authorities, because they need to know that this is your money, that has gone into the project. So I mean, this is how we hope that somebody is watching and listening. So if we talk of traction, yes, people tend to look at these stories which get more eyeballs, but they also look at the larger picture. We get responses in our feedback systems also that
Yeah.
we like this story that you did. Somebody needed to tell the people that yeah, there was such a flyover that ended nowhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. I mean, this is what I wanted to say.
Sure. Shyam, coming to you, in DNA, we had this continuing what Leena was saying about what people really care for. We had a section called Speak Out, where a lot of we got a lot of voices. So, how did that work out? I mean, is that an effective way of, let's say, reporting on urban issues? Really talking about what matters to the citizens, by extension, the voter.
Yeah, thank you, Jumana. Uh, Speak up and speak out. These are sections we had for interacting with people and bringing their voices and the problems they face. And yes, they did try to address all the challenges we were facing in the city at that point of time. Unfortunately, and in fact, I want to elaborate a bit later on this. If there is no mechanism to redress the problems, you can bring them to limelight, you can and leave it to the discretion of the authorities and whoever is in power to act on them. But media per se cannot get it addressed directly. So if you remember, we did try to have a helpline where our reporters will speak to municipal authorities, try to get the problems addressed. We tried it for a while. Many other newspapers also tried. Some of them ran successfully for a longer time. But that doesn't really help in solving problems on a larger scale. That's a one-on-one small issue that one can resolve. So that's a big challenge. Kitiba, I wanted to talk about one specific aspect of
Please.
this. uh, you should, probably think about what can be done about it. Uh, like what Dixit Bhai was saying, and probably even Jumana would have faced it. Leena has been facing it all her life. I've been a witness. People come with a lot of expectations to media that media should do this, media is not doing this, this is media's role, what is media doing, and so on. But professionally, we as journalists have one major limitation, and there is a difference in our role. And journalists are not supposed to be activists. We are not activists. We are professional, giving voice to what people have to say and telling people about what the authorities are doing as watchdog of democracy. So beyond that, we can't cross the line and become activists ourselves. Mahatma Gandhi tried that during freedom struggle, but that was a different time fighting the Britishers. After that, the moment we become activists, I think we lose our professional sanctity. And that's the battle that everybody faces, be it the commercial interest of the organization that you work in, be it the any other aspect that we talk about. But at the end of it, you are aware that as a professional journalist, this is not your role to step in the shoes of Kirtibai or someone else in terms of getting the problem addressed. And I think that's where we lack a kind of dialogue. But I still feel in the end we need a dialogue. Till the city doesn't learn to sit down and talk to each other, our problems will not be solved. And that is where I think we have been constantly failing in at least 25, 30 years that I have seen. Uh, I have never seen that happening. I have never seen a dialogue between common people, authorities, industry, media, and other stakeholders actually sitting and allowing everybody to voice their problems. No solution, just a dialogue. I think that should be the first step if we really want to be a democratic society and we want problems to be addressed. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Shyam. Kirtibai, do you want to say something on that, or I'll move on to my next question?
No, I want to come back at the end, but I think, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, uh, the expectations that people have on media, I think, are very legitimate. Because if you have expectations and things are not really, I think, in order, where do you go? You go to political processes, you know they are not delivering. If you go to, I think civil society route, you know it's not really going very far. It is happening at a very small scale. And media is visible. Media is seen to kind of influence both at the upper end as well as the lower end. And then I don't think there is a problem with expectation from media. It's very legitimate. Question is, media is not equipped as it functions to respond to that. And I agree, there's a limit to how far you could go. That you're a professional, you're not activist, you cannot take an issue beyond. But let me give you an example what Devanshi ji talked about, and I was deeply touched because when this Chandola thing happened, thousands of people and families have been moved. And it's so easy to say that the criminals and Bangladeshis, and therefore you put the issue under the carpet. But the fact it's a very big issue. That large number of people are uprooted. As a matter of fact, Ahmedabad city is running a campaign for last few days and weeks to bulldoze people, to resettle them. Now, I personally feel like, say, for instance, and this is what I wanted to tell you, that there are solutions that have emerged. Now, say, for instance, and Devanshi ji, this you may like very much. Is she there or is gone? Like say for instance, India has been struggling for last 70 years, on what to do with slums, urban slums. And now, after so many years of interesting responses, a very interesting idea has developed, and a major project is happening in Orissa, where solution is not seen in the context of pakka multi-story housing, but slum upgrading on the ground, and it's getting into remarkable solution. Now, not many people know this. We are doing 6 webinars in August and September with the help of UN Habitat and Citizen Alliance to highlight this. But I personally feel that if solutions have been arrived at, and I think fairly acceptable solutions, viable solution, affordable solution, and even though you're not an activist, if the media were to kind of take a role, that we would see that this particular solutions that has emerged and is working can be scaled up, can be, I think, tried out in other areas. It will be very helpful because who else will do it if media doesn't do that? And so that is, and that is why I'm saying it's a very legitimate expectations. I would have, one of the reason I wanted to do this webinar was that this is the expectation that I wanted to talk about. That we want media to be a partner in search for better cities, inclusive cities, green cities. And I'm not saying India is not doing anything, and I'm sure Linaji would give an example of what they're doing. But there's so much more that could be done, and I think which I think is not really happening. So that is the small little point that I
So
wanted
to
to make.
that end, Dixit Bhai, one of my questions is also that is there a way media houses or individual journalists and government agencies or urban planners can collaborate in some manner to, because media, we have people have expectations from us, sure, but what is our authority? What can we actually do except voicing people's voices, bringing out people's voices? Sure, we run campaigns, but for actual impact on the ground, it is with the government, lies with the government. the executive bodies, the elected bodies. And so is there a way to address these expectations constructively? Do you think, is there possible for to collaborate?
Absolutely, Jumana ji. I think this is possible if media, government, and the people can collaborate together and come out with a solution. See, I'm also convinced with the reason which have been cited by Shyam Bhai. We are a journalist, we are not activists. At the same time, I'm also convinced and agree to Kirti Bhai what he is expecting, what people are expecting to us. See, we are here to raise the voice of the people. We are as a watchdog of the society, but
Yeah,
we cannot resolve the problems of the people. Yes, we can highlight it, we can follow it up, and then we can lead to a solution of the problem that is always there. But I think for that, our limitations are never understood by the people. People are always saying that you can do this, journalists can do anything, but it is not such like that. We all agree to that point because we have a limitations, we have our organization limitations, we have our work limitations also, but at the same time we are committed to do something concrete for the people of Gujarat, for the people of our nation. And for that, I think if anything will be collaborate in a manner where we can productively give something back to the society. And as far as the awareness campaigns are concerns, we always run a
yeah,
major and massive campaigns, but I think that impact is not there. And for that, I think people, local people, has to come forward to receive that. The way Leena ji has mentioned about the helmet things, we have also always drive helmet drive at any big charastas of Ahmedabad, but always we are getting such kind of funny answers the way Leena ji have mentioned here. But then also people are not ready to accept what we want to make them understand. So that's why only I have told that okay, we'll raise our efforts. If we can raise our efforts in that direction, that would be great. But I think the government people should come forward. They should collaborate with the media for the drives, and then people has to also be little bit more open to receive whatever we want to give them. See, it is basically a collective. It will be a collective effort. Any NGO, any media, or any government cannot do it individually. We all have to be together, and we have to make collaborative efforts to achieve the targets.
yeah, yeah. Same question to Shyam. Shyam, in your understanding of yours, how do you believe media and we basically to get more teeth? I mean, if we have uh, influence to some extent, um, we have the power of magnifying voices, amplifying concerns, but how do you turn it into action? Is there a concrete thought that you have maybe has occurred to you over the years that only if we could have done this?
That's basically dialogue. We're talking about holding a dialogue. That's the only thing media can actually do without crossing lines and facilitating things. Because by default, media's nature is such that it has channels of communication with every stakeholder that is required to have a dialogue in the city. And it can easily put everyone together on the same platform and hold it. I think we need to reach a time where we have annual city summits in every city to address its city problems. It will begin with no solution. It will begin only with conversation. But I think if we can hold a decent conversation without killing and accusing each other, we will have a fantastic result in a couple of years to come. And that's functional democracy, right? So I think the first step should be facilitating a dialogue like this, which will definitely take things forward.
I think at this point, if you don't mind, can I ask a question, Jumana
Yes,
ji?
of course. Yeah, yeah, please, please, of course.
What I want to ask collectively to all three, four of you, Are there any examples, here in India or outside, I think, in Western countries, where media has played a decisive role, important role in the context of major urban issues, be that environmental issues, be that, I think, issues of governance, are there examples where they may have crossed the boundary of professionalism, they may not have crossed, but I think it is very useful to know if you know any of those examples, which where it has been done successfully, where you can call that as innovation, when you call it doing it differently. Uh, Shambai, do you think of any examples where this has happened?
Yeah, I mean, Jumana, Dixit bhai and Leena are all having good insights on this. I'll let them take it. But to begin with, a lot of county newspapers in US have been known to be doing this for long time. I mean, almost a century. If you look at their history, their role has been very, very local. I mean, they don't look at urban or rural, but local infrastructure and local issues. And that's what they've been addressing. Kitiba, I have a little different view there. If you are a democratic country, I'm not talking about India. I'm talking about other democracies older than us, more stable
Mm.
than us. Most of them have not really faced the kind of challenges we are facing because the population
Exactly.
pressure and rapid growth that we have faced, except for Latin American countries, it's not been that dominant. Plus, uh, the authorities, it's not to say that ours are not responding, but our issues are a little different. They have been more proactive in terms of advanced planning. And that, I think, is where we have usually failed, not having a very clear advanced roadmap or plan for urbanization. And therefore, uh, it's difficult to find a specific example like this from other countries and their media. Yeah, over to you.
Okay.
So, Kirti
So
bhai,
what?
I would like, I'm sorry.
Jara, go ahead, Leena.
No, I would like to say that, sometimes there may not be a direct link, between something that has happened in terms of policy and something that media took up. It might be subtle, authorities may not want to acknowledge that, this we are doing because the media has raised this issue, you know. They may not want to link the two. They may think, they may want to say that, this is our own, this is our own idea, this is our own thinking, and they would like to present it like that. So media continues to write for the reader who lives in a city or in a rural space, in an urban or a rural space. Largely the English media, especially, I mean, we usually write for people who can read us, okay, and we assume it's an urban space. But having said that, I will say that, I get most of my calls even from cities like Gandhidham and from Anand, where, I mean, it's a town, but we have a lot of readers who, consciously write back. So, I don't think we need to take up an activist role. I think we just need to be good journalists, raising issues, bringing them to the table, bringing out things which people may not otherwise know, telling the whys behind the what, and telling the, I mean, trying to figure out the what next of a story, where can this go? So I think that is where our intervention comes. And I think each one of us here is doing that already in our own ways, using our own medium, to the maximum. This is what I feel.
Yeah. So the one thing that comes to my mind is not, it's debatable probably, and we should be disagreed on. In terms of urban development and environmental concerns, Delhi is facing some serious air pollution issues. And I do believe that the kind of attention that the media is giving to it from every quarter, it's a 360-degree approach that the media has taken in highlighting how serious a concern it is to the point that it has become an election issue. So I think that is something that can seriously be viewed as like even the cleanliness of the Yamuna. And how badly it is. This that and it was an election issue in the last elections. So whether something comes out of it, of course, is a test of our democracy and its health. But the fact that these things are becoming an issue for voters, for citizens, for people to talk about is, I think, something somewhere the media does have a role to play in it, and a significant one. So the solutions are not simple because the problems have come over decades, if not longer. So they will take time. The fact that people are actively talking about it and wanting to address it. So it's collectively, yeah, these campaigns do have an impact. Dixit, would you like to add something to this?
Yeah, Jumana, you are very correct because ultimately, over a period of time, we have always run a campaigns and we found the impacts also. But this is not the uh, uh, our effort should be continuous and what we are doing
Yeah.
actually. We all are doing the total efforts, whatever, whoever sitting here right now. But as far as the result is concerned, and I believe that it's a very long process, and we have to keep continuing our efforts. And I think the result will be there, as Kirti bhai is also suggesting what kind of efforts you can do. Yes, we are doing our best. We are trying our best to uh, aware the society about certain issues. But at the same time, government and the people are the two corners. We are in between, and just we are trying to bridge both the ends. So fine, we have to see and we have to keep trying the way we are trying. And absolutely, Kirti bhai, after your this initiative, we'll push more as far as urbanization and the issues are concerned.
Well, see, that's the first impact.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. One of my key questions is to all the panelists actually, that are we as media, and this is a good reflection point perhaps, that do we spend a disproportionate amount of time perhaps, or and print space in glorifying projects and concepts and campaigns, government campaigns, vis-a-vis, sort of critically examining them? Should we, it's a reflection question. Should we be doing more about, questioning the prudence of spending the money and how they have been spent? Or do you believe that the media largely is doing enough? Let's start with you, Dixit bhai. Yeah.
Yeah, we are trying. We are trying our best. But time and time again, we have raised the question. I'll give you with an example. Whatever the budget allocated by the government to the concerned municipal corporation, we all observed that the total budget have been never exploited. Means they have written the budget. Means whatever will be the budget of a Surat Municipal Corporation or Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, it is ultimately for the people of Gujarat, for the people of the cities. But such kind of questions and such kind of queries we have been always raising. But find how political fraternity and the government is taking that you all knows, because everybody have their own consequences and own problems and own limitations. But fine, our role is to raise the question and what we are doing right now, and we will.
Yeah, yeah. Leena?
So I would say that, our role is largely divided between informing and questioning. Okay. So when we inform, we also bring out, say, for instance, if there is a city like Ahmedabad, which has a unique riverfront project, we tell people about it. Okay. And it is seen as Ahmedabad's centerpiece and Gujarat centerpiece, you can say.
Hmm.
So while we do this, it's not that, when the riverfront's promenade is flooded, we don't question it. When there is, there is a mosquito menace on the river, we don't question it, we don't raise it. So while we inform, we don't glorify. I wouldn't call it glorification, but I think it's also necessary to tell the reader and the people that, here is where your money has gone. And in a sense, now, of course, there's a huge chorus of cities, big and small, wanting to create riverfronts without, looking at, how sustainable they will be. But at least we have raised that question, that this is how, over the years, we have examined the project, every
Yeah.
monsoon, every summer, every season to see how it's working, how people are using it. Okay, similarly, taking the example of Chandola, the evictions that happened. So while it is also our job to inform what happened, and why it happened, we also went deeper to profile some of the people whom, like Kirtibai said, they were branded as Bangladeshis, they were asked to leave. And we also went even more deeper to see that what exactly is this Chandola, this space. It is a wetland. It used to be this, the history of this lake, when it was created by, when Ahmedabad was a kingdom, it was created as a drainage, the rainwater drainage system, and how this was then seen as an encroachment over the years. So putting things in perspective and raising questions on actions by authorities or what or inactions is, I think, what we should do and we are doing. So this is how I look at it.
Yeah. Shyam?
I think uh, you can't exclude either. Media's role is very holistic. If there's something new and exciting happening, it is going to be excited to tell a very interesting story to people that is going to change their lives in some time to come. If it means glorification to get them to read it, I think that's part of the work that media has to do. Similarly, raising questions if the money is not being spent right, if the impact is not what it was expected to, or there's an auditing of where the money is going, then that's also again the role of media. And at the end of it, analyzing it, whether this was worth it, what should be the lessons that people should keep in mind for future projects, and so on. And going beyond that is really where the intellectual leadership of media comes into play. That what next or what really the city needs, not merely the projects which will give political brownie points to people, but what really city needs on priority and prioritizing this. But in doing this, now media is subject to massive social media pressure. So it tends to give in to what the masses think or feel on social media, which I think is a strategically wrong point. But then every media house has many components and their own priorities. So one journalist, one editor, one reporter cannot change the policies of either the media house or what it perceives as important news or what should be the priority. Unfortunately, we are part of a system which is not controlled by us. We are merely a part of it. Though we have much more liberty to, refabricate the system as and when it is required in small quantities, but on a larger scale, that's beyond us. That's my point.
Right. These are valid reflections, and I think perhaps the beginning of a dialogue and reflections that we will continue to have as we continue to do stories and reportage in days and years to come. Kirtibai and all the other panelists and our viewers, with that, I come to the end of the time allotted to me as well as my questions. So thank you very much, everyone. Over to you, Kirtibai, to take it from here. If we have questions from the
Jumana
audience,
ji,
I suppose. Yeah.
if you allow me, there are one or two things that didn't happen. Like we talked about urbanization, we talked about cities, but the focus always have been on the big cities of Ahmedabad and the BRTS. What about the smaller cities? Because they are the future. They are the ones who are most neglected. They are the weakest in terms of investment, in terms of infrastructure development. And I'm sure you as a media must be looking at it. So I wanted you to reflect on that. I think all of you, all four of you are thinking, what do you think of the smaller cities? Because in terms of numbers, when you talk about something like 8,900 cities in the country, the bigger ones, just constitutes about 12 to 15%. The smaller ones are the bigger number, and they are the ones who are future in many ways. So, do you have any thoughts? Do you how does media deal with this size issue? It's not very prominent. It's not in high focus areas as such.
So, Kirti
Eh,
bhai,
eh, Haji,
this budget of the Gujarat government, there's one vision that they have put forth is making 75% of Gujarat urbanized by 2047.
yes,
And you must have read that how, 9 new municipal corporations were announced.
yes.
And the government, quickly even appointed municipal commissioners to these positions, to create bigger urban, the urban agglomeration is going to be expanded. So we are looking at this phenomenon, but at the same time, in Gujarat, what we have seen in the course of our reporting is that uh, the what should we say, the rural phenomenon is more, I mean, it's much more visible. So there are people who are invested in their towns and their cities as well, more than just the government. So here we see a lot of PPP models uh, taking fruit, and in a good way. So I think many cities, for instance, if you go to Anand, you will see a lot of people who have invested their money in infrastructure, their personal earnings, the NRI, take the NRIs or whoever, which is why the government decided to make this a part of the policy also. I think the JNNURM and Amrut both have public-private partnerships as one of the ways forward to building infrastructure. So I feel if we are taking the case of Gujarat, I think we are in a good place in terms of smaller cities. There are few aberrations, of course, where there is a disjointed target against what has to be against the execution. But this is my it's an observation. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm right.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Mhm.
Yeah.
Anyone else on a smaller city?
Yeah, so my take on this is, the media covers smaller cities, so it's not as if the Delhi media is going to be looking at smaller cities. Like Delhi media doesn't care about Ahmedabad's urban development, and Ahmedabad doesn't care about Ahmedabad readers and viewers don't care about Rajkot's urban development. So the local media of that town does cover the way we do it. So I do believe that the media of that region, urban development per se, is a local phenomenon. It is
Mhm.
best addressed by the local media. Even regional media is going to talk about it only if there are big projects, and that can be very misleading. Or if there is a big crisis, which is what happened in, say, the Vadodara flooding case a few months ago, and so those big headlines grab you. But beyond that, it is the local media. It's a local media phenomenon. Urban development is entirely best covered and addressed by local media. Having said that, uh, urban local bodies in towns which are aspiring to be bigger and bigger and bigger, they always look to the bigger cities for their development model. So right now, let's say the Sabarmati riverfront is being sold as, the golden goose. If you have a riverfront in your city, you're blessed. You sort of arrive. So suddenly that becomes an aspiration. So in many ways, looking at the big city and its urban development trajectory is invariably going to trickle down. So if real issues, core issues have to be addressed, they do need to be addressed in bigger cities. And some basic, you know, culture, some basic ethos that we need to bring in our urban development of, let's say, justice and addressing inequality, sustainability, environmental concerns that we all talk about, accessible and affordable local transport, end-to-end connectivity, public transport. So these things, that the first thing we need to address it is in Ahmedabad. And only if it is there in Ahmedabad, people of Surat are going to demand it. People of Surat are going to appreciate it. It's an aspiration thing, If Delhi has it, if a Bombay has it, then people in Ahmedabad are going to be like, why do I want a life like Bombay? Give me end to end connectivity. So it's something like that. So that is my response to let's say, so that basic cultural and the central level, federal level planning of how urban development should be done, should be addressed at that, holistic, but at that level. It's a federal decision, and then it will trickle down. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't have. I wanted to have one solid question for everyone, and that is this, Jumana ji, that the whole list of issues that you talked about and I talked about. That it's not a rosy picture so far. Urbanization is concerned, the way cities are growing, and therefore, if media had to pick up 5 key issues which would determine scope of urbanization, city development in the next 20 years, 25 years, which would be those? Just 5 I'm talking about. Those we think are very critical, those which will determine the scope of the development, and those which decide, I think, trajectory of urban growth in the country. This may not be answered, but this was certainly something that I had in my mind. I thought I would put it across, and maybe I think subsequently, I think some other time we could discuss this.
Kirtibhai, I think the
Uh,
issues are quite universal. So if you are living in a city or you're living wherever, I think the basic concerns would be your health, your security, safety, education, and your,
mhm,
whether you're
mhm.
getting clean drinking water. Like Dixit Bhai said, we are writing about water even till today. And whether, there is a good disposal of the sewage systems. These are some basic questions that people need addressed uh, at anywhere, at any point. And today, I'll just tell you the change that media has gone through over the years. Earlier, I mean, being in a newspaper and transitioning to the digital medium, earlier our edition would be read only in Baroda, Ahmedabad, Surat. Today we know that one story we are putting out in the internet space is being read by somebody in San Francisco to Sanand. Everyone is
Yeah.
reading that story. So our effort is to try and give them a good perspective of the issue we are writing about, especially urban issues, because everything is now an urban issue. It's not in any slot. It has transitioned, it has broken the geographical walls, and everything that you're doing today is an urban issue. So I think we cannot really put it in a box or in a slot. Like we are today talking about pets registration, that is also a part of urbanization. you know so yeah, so this is, and even like Devanshi mentioned, going to a restaurant to eat. Why is Gujarat being seen as safe, where people can go to a restaurant even in the night, with their families? So these are all urban issues, and I think we look at it like that in a very holistic way. We cannot really define ki these are, we don't want to limit them basically.
Yeah, only small little. I don't want to kind of expand this, but small little
We have
point is this. Like, say, for instance, in looking at globally, climate change is an issue which must be addressed by everyone. At the grassroots level, at the state level, at the city level, at the village level, at the national levels, international level. So that is an example. That do, and I personally feel in the Indian context we have some of those things which must be prioritized and addressed. Otherwise, we will not be able to kind of meet the challenge that we have. And the reason I'm asking this question to media, that if media has to kind of pick up those, which will be those 5, like say firms, and it will vary from platform to platform, from newspaper to newspaper, from TV to TV. But I was personally very keen to, because I'm talking to you and I'm listening to you. I said, which are the 5 ones they would pick up? That okay, given an option, this is the one we would have to address holistically with a lot of vigor, with a lot of attention. That is the kind of question I'm asking.
Okay. Maybe someone else can take it.
Yeah, I think what Kirti Bhai is asking, let me try to answer his question, Leena ji. Water crisis. I think water crisis is a major issue of urbanization which has to be get addressed. Second point is traffic and transportation. Traffic and transportation is a major issue which has to be addressed and which has to be more focused. At the same time, air quality and the climate change issues, which he has already mentioned. So air quality is also a biggest challenge in coming future. So I think this is a big challenge as far as urbanization is concerned. Housing and urban planning. The way urban planning is government is doing, and the housing, just to provide them a good quality of houses with all civic facilities, it is also going to be one major challenge, and which has to be more focused. And development and developmental inequality in terms of આપણે ઘણી વખત એવું જોયું છે કે એક એરિયામાં ડેવલપમેન્ટ થાય અને અમુક ચોક્કસ પ્રકારના એરિયામાં ડેવલપમેન્ટ નથી થતું. See, so that has to be a cumulative development. So these are the major issues which has to be concerned and which has to be addressed in future as far as urbanization challenges are concerned.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
I think I have given your answer.
No, I think you attempted it. It's very good.
Yeah,
I'm very
yeah,
happy.
yeah.
Happy.
I'd say affordable housing would be number one from a larger perspective. I mean, I don't want my life to be comfortable while there is a good section of the society who cannot access basic housing facilities, and by extension sanitation for them and for everybody. That's a collective sanitation is absolutely a collective issue. That good sewage lines is essential for any citizen in a city, so that would matter for sure. In of course transportation and safe roads and because that is a huge contributor in access to economic opportunities for people. Again, a part of equality for everybody in the city, that I am able to drive my car very comfortably on a riverfront, but I know a lot of people are not able to access that clean green road overseeing looking at the river. So that's a real concern. So and to be able to access any part of the city with affordable transport. So that's what you say, last mile connectivity or end-to-end connectivity. So those things would be very high on making cities what we call engines of growth, economic prosperity. So for people to be able to access economic opportunities, that is another thing. And of course, health issues, air quality, water quality, those things are given. But one thing which I think is we have missed out in after these basics are covered is public spaces where we can look for entertainment, where we can look to go out with family, and for safe spaces for children. That is essentially something that is largely overlooked. Safety for women and for children is very, very low on our priority, because I think we are still concerned about air, water, and sanitation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tushar
I
Bhai
think
has a question. Tushar Jani from CEE is here. Tushar Bhai, I see your question, but not you. So I will ask the question on his behalf. If I may, Kirti Bhai, do we have time? It's 7:57. Do we have time to take one question?
Please don't worry. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So he's written, this is his first attendance in this webinar series, and he really liked it. He would like to come again. The question is, has the greening and biodiversity issue been addressed so far from Ahmedabad and Gujarat perspective? I will repeat the question. Has the greening and biodiversity issue, has it been addressed so far? Um, Shyam, Leena, Dixit, by anybody, any of you would like to take the question? And there is one more question we have from Sanskriti Menon. I will look for that question, Sanskriti. I can't find it. But meanwhile, can you, Leena or Shyam, Dixit, by anybody would like to take that?
Yeah, I think they are being addressed, though they may not be defined as, we are taking up a greening issue or we are taking up a biodiversity issue. But, when we are writing about chopping of trees for a development project, I think we are in some ways writing about how there's a compromise on the greening, on the green cover. And when the city went through this horrible earthquake in 2001, we realized how many of the buildings which sunk were actually on lakes. They were built on lakes, and how the lakes had been compromised, and this led to some sort of action by several NGOs who got together, and now we finally see the Vastrapur Lake, which did not exist in the early 90s, by the way. So I think in some ways we are addressing it. We may not define it as, taking up a biodiversity issue in a campaign mode, but the issue is being addressed. This is my point of view.
I second view. It is getting addressed. It's just that labeling may be different. We may be seeing it as news-based issues, and somebody else from a different area will say that this label was used or not. That's how it is. Like I remember from my reporting days, there's one story I did from a particular court. I'll not name which one. It was about the lakes and ponds in the city, water bodies of Ahmedabad. And I got a list from the advocate. There's some 640 lakes, ponds, and water bodies in all across Ahmedabad. And that was a document from the Gayakwadi government. And he presented it to the court. And I got a copy of the document and I reported and I listed all the prominent places in the city which were actually set up on the spaces of these lakes and ponds. Now, it so happened that the largest water body in that list is exactly where the court was built. And when I reported and I point that out that the hearing is going on, but this is exactly what court has done. And then I was reprimanded and summoned to the court that, I was called to the chamber that you should not do this. Oh, well, it was a different reason. But what can I do? I mean, it's there in the list. So this is, greening, biodiversity, whatever you call. It may be a court issue. It may be, urban development, urban sprawl issue. It may not distinguish everything with separate labels, but it does get addressed.
Okay. Tusharbai, I hope that answers that question. We have one more question from Sanskriti Menon. I'm going to read out her entire message. Many speakers have highlighted traffic congestion and consequences of air pollutants. However, a very serious result of high motorized traffic are severe road crash fatalities, often not recognized. Gujarat is among the states with the highest number of road crashes. These deaths are preventable. Media can play a very important role in the correct framing of the issue of road fatalities. Often the officials and public think that people are to blame for not driving safely, but the real issues of unsafe infrastructure, lack of enforcement, lack of public transport are often not mentioned in the reporting on road crash deaths. How can we ensure that media is able to present the correct narrative on road traffic and road safety? And should INHAF address this in webinar series?
I think we already addressed it in the examples we gave.
No, I agree with what Sanskriti Menon is saying that, traffic death, road crash deaths are a major issue. And with increasing traffic, that's going to be a bigger challenge. And therefore, it is necessary that we have a holistic approach in handling traffic, beginning from roads to everything else. And I think that should be priority because that's really impacting us as a city. In anyone you talk to, the biggest concern these days in any city is going to be about commuting and the time they spent on the streets.
Also, I feel that, the question here to be asked is that we as media people are reaching out to all readers across the state. But why is a Surat coming first in such a survection, and why is an Ahmedabad not being able to make it? It's the same people who are reading you, who are watching you on television. And why is the Rajkot city resisting helmets so much? That they went on the streets protesting against the helmet rule, and they had to bring down the penalty by half to actually make people wear helmets. So, so this is where we also feel that, we are reaching out to all the readers, but here is one reader reacting in a different way, and there is another reader or a viewer reacting in a different way. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of cultural issue here.
No, Sastiti ma'am is right in a way that simplistic reporting does not serve the cause. More critical reporting is needed on road safety. How can media portray the correct picture and ask the correct questions? I think I will, being a part of the industry myself, I have a point of view on this. I think the first step to that would be for the media itself to know what are those questions to ask. Like, for instance, something as elementary as this, that all Indian cities are planned for cars, and everything is decided that we should have wider roads, and that will be the solution to road issues and road congestion. While it took us a while to realize that wider roads are not a solution to congestion. They are, in fact, they add to the congestion. No matter how much you widen roads, this is never going to be enough. And also the second important thing, a simple fact that what percentage of people in India own cars? Any guesses? Except except Kirti Bhai. Apparently 5% of people in India own
Right,
cars.
right.
And what is the percentage of people who are able to access the facility of traveling in a car? Not more than 7%. So, who are we really designing these roads for? Now, the moment we have this question, I mean, except four of us, five of us here, the other people on this in audience are also subject experts. So for them, that is not news. But for the journalists, we are not subject experts. So, these kind of questions to really ask is also something that, subject experts can maybe actively, and, someone like Kirti Bhai can actively reach out to, that is where subject experts come in, to be a jacks of all. And this is clearly saying that, we can do with better understanding of, what questions to ask. So a seminar like this goes a long way, but that is five of us here, and there are thousands of media people out there. So that's where one of the things that we spoke about is collaborating. How can experts and government agencies collaborate? So while we recognize that media has responsibility and a power, so we also need to be empowered in many ways. So I think that is where this comes from. Like, yeah. We would like to engage on road safety. Since Kriti Menon is saying that, yes, we would like to engage on road safety. So yes, by all means, I believe Leena and Dixit Bhai and Shyam will also say the same.
So I'll give a small example from the way back in the 90s when the CG road was being built, and I happened to be covering it as a part of, the corporation reporter. And the minute they decided to take some space for footpaths and and remove the vehicles that were being parked there was outrage. People were on the streets that you are constricting this road. How are we going to drive our cars and our scooters? And where are we going to park them? So the idea was to take these scooters which were being parked on the road owned by the, they are mainly of the shopkeepers and all, to take them to a more organized space. But everyone wanted their scooter in front of their shop. So this is how, and they came out on the streets, and then what happens is there's pressure on the elected body that, reverse this decision. People don't want it. So I think our role is to tell the people that, I mean, to tell it in some way where they understand that, this is how it should be. Something like that. I mean, this is just an experience. I thought, I mean, I saw it live. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this was a great discussion, and I
I
hope
think a precursor to
that,
many more.
we have overshot the time, I
Yes.
assume so. So
Yeah. Actually, I also have to leave because it is
yeah,
Yeah, it's our
No, I
peak hour
think
actually.
therefore, let me take half a minute and thank you very much for making time for preparing for this, and it has been a wonderful learning experience for me in terms of doing this webinar differently. Not the experts, but the people who respond to challenges. My small little last wish is this, that we really want a greater partnership with media. For those who are working in this field, I'm not saying it's not there, but I think and maybe at some point of time, Shyam Bhai and Leena ji and Jumana ji and Dixit Bhai will sit together and say, look, these are the areas in which a lot more could happen. And of course, I'm not saying that, and I think as Leena ji continues to saying, she continues to give example of what is happening. And I'm not saying it's not happening. But as I said from the very beginning, this entire exercise of getting you here on this webinar was to tell you that urban challenge is there and it's difficult and it's complex. And everyone has to play a role. Media obviously has played a role, but it requires us to be probably nuanced a little more in this direction and that direction. So I agree with you, Jumana ji. This is the beginning of dialogue, and we hope to continue this. So thank you very
Thank
much
you. Thank
for
you so
making
much.
time, and thank you very much for being so articulate and having spent more than 2 hours and sitting and talking. So
yeah.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
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 you,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kiki
bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. પછી પણ મળીએ સાહેબ, હા.
Chokas.